in space.
I think there's so many brilliant minds and people that could be doing that good of a job who are working in the industry, and I think it takes it takes a lot to do that job and then to educate. So the people that really you could say yes, you know what, they should be the people teaching it, but they're never going to have any time. You know, they're the ones that can't they can't do it, or they're so used to uh, running their mind in a certain way to be that analytical person that's making sure we're saving lives and innovating at the same time. Do they have the capacity to then go back out and educate people? You know, it's a kind of a conundrum in a way.
All right. Well, the risks when Challenger, for example, it became, I think, NASA became so fooled into thinking that the risks were so small that we could take a teacher aboard, and the horror of losing that crew brought back the fact that that it's risky business,
Hmm.
and
And in a whole new light too, because no one expected it. You know, when you
exactly
put the school teacher on there, you're not saying it, but you're kind of implying it that we can. It's not just astronauts, people who are trained for this
right.
every day. Not that she
Yeah,
wasn't
we can.
trained, but yeah, that's a very interesting point, Jerry.
Well, yeah, and it was almost as if they were saying that anyone can with the right training can jump on board and be assured a safe flight,
Mm,
and it's never that way. And space flight is just every time there is risk, and we were shown that uh, all too tragically. But
yes. So Jerry, now that we're kind of at this point here, I want to jump into. Do you think that had we taken a different approach? Let me say this differently. Um, with the shuttle program, with the disasters that happened, do you think that we scared ourselves out of the exploration phase of our young space history and got too critical, too analytical for what's necessary for us to explore?
I think yes. I think that after Columbia, uh, no one wanted to assume the risk. After Challenger, that wasn't not the case. But after Columbia, and in several NASA-only meetings that I heard of secondhand,
Hmm.
I wasn't there, but I understood that NASA was no longer willing to accept the risk. Um, they became extremely risk adverse.
Mm.
And although a great track record was obviously there,
Right.
they just were no longer willing to assume any kind of risk.
Mm.
And no one would stand up to say that space flight's a risky business, and we're going to continue. And I'll be the one to stand up and say it that it's okay to proceed. I mean, no one would do that.
So everyone was really just shell shocked by the whole thing.
Well, I think that at that time in our program, a lot of the pioneers of spaceflight and Apollo, we gained a lot of talent from Apollo,
Hmm.
the Apollo program, and a lot of the old, I call them old timers. It's me now, but a lot of the mindset of Apollo, and we can do it no matter what. that kind of philosophy left us. No one was willing to take the risk, and NASA wanted a risk-free program, and that just doesn't exist, and that led to the demise of the shuttle. No one would take a risk. They wanted 100% guarantee, and it's just not there. It's not there when you climb in your car. It's not there when you board an airplane. It's not there when you wake up in the morning. But they wanted that risk-free atmosphere, and it's just not there.
That's man, that is. It's fascinating because you spoke of the media influence from the shuttle timing that NASA unfortunately caved to it at one point, which you can kind of see in today's world with social media and stuff like that. It's the same, if you could be tempted to jump in. Obviously, with NASA, it was a lot more serious, and they were
very, very pushed by the media.
So you have the second one happen. Now it comes down to brass tacks because it's a government agency and there's money involved, and it sounds like, again, this is alleged. I don't know, but what it sounds like is that the politics got involved in the space program, and it became more of a, we need to save our skins because we're worried they're going to completely get rid of us altogether. So let's play the game that they're looking for, which is a risk-free space program, which explains why we probably moved to rovers and switching to really doing basically a satellite-based program, essentially.
And things we can do with rovers and robotics, we should.
Yes,
but
agreed.
Things that we cannot do with rovers and robotics that only men can do, we should do.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, you can do so much more. I don't know if folks out there, if you've kind of read this before, but it's a pretty interesting thing where it talks about, for instance, the Mars rover. It's going over there. It is drilling holes, taking material data, actually scooping up and analyzing it within itself. Amazing, amazing stuff. But still, if you had a geologist there for 20 minutes, they would be able to do more than the rover could do in months. So just if we can bring ourselves, we can do so much more. And that's, I think, one of the major directions that our space program has gone to is kind of a long live the space program kind of mentality, where it's, we need to survive. So these are the missions we can do given our budget. It's a frustrating place for me that we're at, but I think that's where we came from. And now I love what the private sector is doing, where it's pushing this further to the point where pre-SpaceX there was no mission to Mars planned on the books at all. Now there is. And now it's time for us to put up, and really go for this. Go for Mars. Do the rovers. Do all of it and more. Like, there's no reason we should be holding ourselves back from this anymore. And I'm really glad that you spoke a little bit about what happens to a space program, and even in something as great as the shuttle. Space program is difficult. The space program we're not supposed to be there. We manipulate it so that we can do that.
Exactly right. It's a technological marvel.
Yeah.
It's man overcoming nature in the bold sense.
Mm-hmm.
And unless there was risk, there would be no America today. I mean, how risky was it to set out on a square rigger?
Mm-hmm.
And travel months and months at extreme peril,
and possibly die on the way over.
World.
Yeah.
Yes, and many did. Yeah. Many did.
Yes.
But that didn't stop. That didn't stop people from exploring. It didn't stop people from their inevitable discoveries, and it shouldn't stop us either.
Mm-hmm. I agree. And I think we need to focus on what is our reason for going into space? Because when during the Cold War, we had a reason. We need to beat the Russians to the moon. We didn't have a choice. Otherwise, whoever gets the high ground, that's it.
Exactly.
So that's a great reason for survival. That's a great reason. With shuttle, it was to prove a point, to show that we could go out there. But when we had all of the major disasters, we had the early programs, Gemini, all the early programs that we had, and the difficulties we had. It's pretty easy to take the jump and say, okay, we need to, because the country's the future of the country depends on it. That's a different motivation altogether.
Mm-hmm.
Then you've got shuttle, where it's really amazing. Mars, we need to figure out why we're doing this. Why are we going into space? And we need to stick to that message and share that with people. And I think we haven't done a great job of doing that with space. I think things like the Hubble Space Telescope, the interplanetary program stuff we have, where we show people what is out there and the marvel of what is out there. We need to keep doing things like that motivate people to do this more, because we can rah all we want, but if we don't have something that we're unified under, and a disaster happens, which it inevitably will, because something will be missed that we have to expect and do our best to prevent it, but that's possible. We will crumble under the pressure of if we don't have a reason for doing it in the first place.
I think you're exactly right. Exactly right. And the exploration of Hubble and subsequent satellites and telescopes tell us the story of us and the realizations of the universe and our, not just our solar system, but the origins of life and the origins of the universe. It's just astonishing what we've learned in the last 50 years, say.
Yes.
Or 20, even.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Last 20 years, what we've learned about the universe and the birth and death of it is just astonishing.
Yes. And I'm very hopeful for the future with space. I think we're at a very interesting time. I don't know if maybe we'll close on this. One of the things I found interesting, Jerry, about the shuttle program was at the time that it was beginning, it was in that it was happening, the late 70s, early 80s. There was a lot of insanity inside the country itself. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
Does it feel a lot like today, where there's just this craze that you just feel in the air for people, and it's those kind of moments. It makes me feel like there's something coming. If we had something great like the shuttle program come out of such a crazy era like that, then I don't see why that couldn't happen again.
Well, I have to say it's you and people like you that thirst for this kind of knowledge and are excited about space travel and the explorations that spur us to do those kinds of things. So I thank you so much for just the interest that you show and the excitement that you wield, and that kind of thing is contagious. So it's you and people like you that help us continue those explorations.
Thank you, Jerry. Yeah,
so
and I
thank you.
Thank you for coming on and sharing this with us, because you're such a wealth of knowledge, and you've been there, and I can't believe we've almost done we've done 45 minutes easily here, and we're going to do many more of these. We're going to have you and I are going to talk about the space shuttle program for a while here. there's so much to go over, and really this was a lot of fun. Thank you for kind of going on that journey with me and talking about shuttle, because you're right, it was a technological marvel, and just to have someone who is as involved as you are is an honor. So I really appreciate it.
Well, the honor's mine. I thank you for having me, Alex.
Thank you very much, Jerry. And until next time, we'll stay well, and we'll talk more shuttle soon. All right?
I look forward to it.
All right, Jerry. Thank you so much.
You bet.